Hey guys, Aaron Israel here with Fundamental Defense in Midland, Texas, and this is my first attempt at a YouTube video. And with my first video, I want to talk to you guys about the importance of taking follow-on training after you get your concealed handgun license. In the state of Texas, in order to get your license, you're required to take a 4 to 6 hour class that covers use of force, nonviolent dispute resolution, safe storage of weapons, and basic handgun use. And you're also required to go to the range and show proficiency with your firearm by taking a 50-round shooting test on a B-27 target and getting scored on that. There's good and bad things about the state-mandated curriculum. The good thing is that it's designed to give you a basic understanding of what the law is. A lot of people don't take it upon themselves to learn about use of force laws, and so this class is at least going to give you a baseline understanding of what those are. Depending on how good your instructor is, you may just get the PowerPoint version where you read it off a slide, or hopefully if you've got a good instructor, they'll go into a lot of detail and try to really answer your questions and put those laws into context where you can understand them. The shooting portion of the test where you show proficiency on the range is really useless in my opinion and has a tendency to give people a false sense of security, because what I see a lot of people doing is they'll take that proficiency test and they'll take their scored target with a 250 out of 250 or whatever, and they'll take a selfie with it and post it on Facebook, and then they'll say, okay, well, I got 250 out of 250, got that perfect score, and the state says that I'm perfect, and so I must be prepared, right? And they take that and they have a false sense of security with it, because that 250 out of 250 you got on a standard square range under standard conditions, very controlled environment, nobody was trying to hurt you, and it was in absolutely no context. When you actually have to use your firearm for self-defense in a worst-case scenario, there's things that your body does naturally when you're under stress that you just cannot go without understanding and really consider yourself prepared for that worst-case scenario. And so the proficiency score that you get in the CHL class really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. And I think people kid themselves when they think, okay, well, I got a perfect score, I must be good to go. That just shows that state-mandated training is really lowest common denominator. So, not bashing CHL instructors. I'm a CHL instructor myself. I think that there's a lot of CHL instructors who do the best they can with the curriculum. I just think that the curriculum itself is very lowest common denominator and really just meets a requirement and doesn't really prepare you for anything. So if you're a responsible armed citizen, what you should do is take it upon yourself to seek out follow-on training after you get your license. One of the ways you can do that's by getting on the internet. There's a lot of good websites out there, such as personaldefensenetwork.com, that give you a lot of resources for not only the legal side, but especially the defensive shooting side, and teach you how to practice when you go to the range. What are the things that you should do when you practice with your defensive firearm? Because any CHL instructor worth their salt is going to tell you to practice, but most of the things that people do when they practice isn't really training for defensive shooting. It's just plinking or shooting bullseyes or something like that. And so there's a lot of resources on the internet through sites like Personal Defense Network where you can learn what you should practice when you go and shoot your defensive firearm. The best way that you can learn those things is to take a class. And I teach a class called Combat Focused Shooting here locally in Midland and in DFW. And that class is designed to make you as the student more efficient with your firearm in the context of a worst-case scenario, what we call a dynamic critical incident, which is something that was surprising. You didn't know it was going to happen. You were just going about your daily business, and you were in a situation where you needed to use deadly force because somebody attacked you or whatever the case may be. And there's certain things, like I said before, that happen to your body in that situation, and we talk a lot about those, and then we learn defensive shooting skills that work well with what your body does naturally so that they're intuitive as far as what you need to do with your firearm in that situation, in that context. So that's really the best way to learn those things, because with the videos, you can go and practice those things on the range, but unless you have somebody that knows what to look for to critique you when you're doing it, you're really not going to learn them as well as you could with an instructor on a live fire range. Now, even after you take that class, it's really a lifetime responsibility, because if you take the 2-day combat focused shooting class and you learn the skills but then you never practice them on your own, then you really still aren't meeting your responsibility. So it's not like you can just check the block and say, okay, I got CHL, I took combat focused shooting, I took a legal class to understand case law, and now I'm good to go. No, you got to stay up to date on that stuff all the time. You got to spend time on the range at least once or twice a month, if not once a week, practicing those skills that you learned in class or on the internet. And you also have to stay up to date on what the case law is so that you know what people who are going to court for self-defense issues are going through when they get there and what you can expect if you're ever in that situation. So when you take the CHL class, which is designed to give you that baseline knowledge, that's really all you have. And to meet your responsibility, you need to take it upon yourself to seek out additional resources, get to a class, learn those defensive shooting skills, pay attention to changes in the law, look at case law, get that deeper knowledge of the legal aspect of it, and that will make you a well-rounded, well-informed armed citizen, which is going to better prepare you for that worst-case scenario if, God forbid, you ever have to shoot somebody defensively. So get out there, train, take a class. If you're in Midland or DFW, you can check out my class schedule at fundamentaldefense.org or on my Facebook page at facebook.com/fundamentaldefense. And we'd love to see you on the range. But regardless of who you take classes from, make sure you get out there and train and meet your responsibility as an armed citizen. And always, always focus on the fundamentals.